I want to share something with you that honestly I've never talked about with anybody else, especially on this channel. I had a hitting slump in college that affected me my entire senior season, and I didn't figure out the real cause until just a few weeks ago while I was prepping these concussion episodes. If your son or daughter is struggling at the plate after a head injury and nobody can tell you why, stay with me because this one's for you. Let me paint a picture. Your son or daughter plays baseball or softball at a high level. They've got real ability. Coaches have noticed it for years. Then one game, they take a ball off the helmet or they dive for a ball and their head hits the turf. Maybe they got checked out, maybe they didn't. The ER says it's a concussion. Rest for a few days. And a week later, hey, they're back in the lineup. But something's off. They're late on pitches they used to drive. They're swinging at balls out of the zone. Their reaction time, well, it looks slower. And everyone around them, including them, starts assuming it's a mental block, or their mechanics broke down, or it's just in their head. So you hire a hitting coach, maybe two, you invest in extra BP, you watch video, and nothing changes. I know this story because it happened to me. I was playing summer collegiate baseball back in the 80s between my junior and senior year of college. I was at the plate and I took a pitch right off the helmet. The headache right away. The nausea. I actually vomited walking back to the dugout. I had to leave the game, obviously, and fortunately my teammate took me to the ER. And I'll be honest with you, I was scared. I didn't feel right. I knew something was wrong, and the ER doctor confirmed it. You have a concussion. His recommendation, few days of rest. So that's what I did, and then the following week, I was back in the lineup. But I couldn't hit. I couldn't track the ball. My reaction time was off. Pitches I used to read out of the pitcher's hand, I was seeing them late. I was swinging through fastballs that I should have been sitting on. I went on for the rest of the summer season that way. And then it carried right into my senior season at North Texas State University. The whole year, trouble seeing the ball. Late on pitches. Reaction time was just gone. You know what kept me on the field? My glove. I could still turn a double play at second base with the best of them. My defensive skills, they were intact. But at the plate, I was a completely different player. Here's the part that gets me. Nobody, not my coaches, not the doctors, not anyone, connected those hitting struggles to the concussion I had taken months earlier. And, neither did I. It wasn't until I started researching and preparing these concussion episodes for this podcast that I stopped and thought, wait a minute. The timing, the symptoms, the specific struggles at the plate, that was post-concussion syndrome. I had no idea. So let me explain what's actually happening because this is where it gets important for your son or daughter. Hitting a baseball or softball is one of the most neurologically demanding skills in all of sports. Think about it. A fastball at 85 miles per hour gives a hitter about 400 milliseconds to decide whether to swing. That's less than half a second. That decision, the whole chain of events, starts in the eyes, moves through the brain, and sends signals down through the neck and into the body. It's not just high-end coordination. It's a neurological system working in perfect sequence. Now here's what a concussion does. It disrupts that signal. Think of it like a highway with construction. The information is trails trying to get through, but there are detours, slowdowns, and interference. And here's the part that almost nobody talks about, the neck. When you take a hit, whether it's a pitch off the helmet, a collision, or a fall, the impact doesn't just affect the brain, it affects the cervical spine. The nerves in your neck play a critical role in proprioception, your body's ability to orient itself in space, and the sensory input that feeds directly into your visual tracking system. In other words, A neck injury from a concussion can directly impair your athlete's ability to track a moving ball. That's not a mental block. That's neurology. And most ER doctors, good doctors, caring doctors, they're not checking for that. They don't have time to check for that. They just want to make sure you're not in immediate danger. And that's important, but it's not the whole picture. It creates a gap, and that gap is what may be causing your athlete right now. Now, here's where it gets really good, exciting, I would say, because unlike when I was playing at North Texas State back in the 80s, we now have the technology to actually test for this. We can measure it. We can find the problem. We can address it. We can fix it. We now use what's called a neural performance evaluation, and it's built specifically for situations like your son or daughter's. Here's what it looks at. First, the neck. Using NeckCare technology, we can assess exactly how the cervical spine is functioning after a concussion. We're looking at range of motion, nerve function, and whether the proprioceptive signals feeding into the visual system are being disrupted. This is the piece that never got checked in the ER, and maybe at any other office. Second, the nervous system. Using BrainTap HRV, heart rate variability analysis, we can see whether your athlete's nervous system is stuck in a state of sympathetic dominance. Hey, they're pressing, they're stressed because they're not hitting. We want to find out if they're stuck in fight or flight. That's a dysregulated nervous system after a concussion, and it affects everything. Focus, reaction time, decision making, all of it. Third, movement and reaction. With Kinetisense, we can actually measure your athlete's reaction time, balance, and movement patterns in real time. We're not guessing, we're measuring, and then we can track improvement over time as treatment progresses. And when we find dysfunction, we use newbie neurological stimulation therapy to help reset the nervous system, to reestablish those pathways that got disrupted when the hit happened. This is not guesswork. This is not rest and see. This is targeted, measurable rehabilitation for the neurological system that was damaged and the system that makes an elite hitter an elite hitter. If your son or daughter is struggling at the plate right now, and I've been there, it hurts, and you can't figure out why, I want you to consider one question. Have they had a concussion, a head impact, or a significant fall in the last 1, 2, or even 3 years? Because if the answer is yes, I think the real cause of their hitting struggles may not be in their swing, it may be in their nervous system. And that is something we can evaluate. We can test for it. We can treat it. We can fix it. Don't let your son or daughter lose a season or an opportunity to something that can be identified and addressed. Here's what I want you to do right now. Drop baseball or softball in the comments below and tell me your son or daughter's sport and what you're seeing. I read every comment. I want to understand what you're dealing with. If you're ready to take the next step, reach out to our clinic directly. The link is right there in the description. We'll walk you through what the neural performance evaluation involves and, whether it makes sense for your athlete. And if this episode opened your eyes to something you really hadn't considered, share it. Share it with the parent sitting next to you in the bleachers. Share it with the coach. Share it with the team group chat. Because I guarantee you, there is another family right now watching their kids struggle at the plate, and they have no idea this is a connection even exists. I'm Dr. Ted Arkfeld, and this is The Defeating Pain. And together, we're going to fix this.